Hello, folks. Welcome to Hang On with RAKStar. If you are joining for the first time today, basically this is a community space where we share with passionate RAKStars to talk about their projects, their cool projects, or basically in some case for today's session it's going to be like a bit different since we're going to be talking with a partner that we have made during the past months. We have been working closely together with them, and it's an educational partner, and I have been really enjoying the work that we have been doing together. And in some way we are going to share a little bit more about all the things he has been doing during the past years, or we can say the past 2 decades, about the education program and how right now he's trying to involve this with new technologies such as IoT, and here's why RAK became part of this cool project. But this is just like a small intro, and for those who are joining for the first time as well, my name is Maria Hernandez, Developer Relation Lead at RAK, and with me, Jose Marcelino, our Solution Architect.
Hi everyone again, and today we have. You were being very modest, Maria. We have an amazing guest today. Yeah, I'm really impressed to have him here.
Yeah,
And
it is
yeah.
a pleasure to have you over here. I'm super glad to having him in, and I think he have like many things to share with us,
Yeah.
and all the things that we are going to address in the near future with their help. It's going to be amazing, definitely
Mhm.
amazing. So yeah, I think we can introduce him. In today's session, we're going to be chatting with George Newman. He's founder and CEO of One Planet Education Network, which is a mission-driven social enterprise that develop STEM project-based learning programs that join together students with underserved community worldwide. George, welcome to the RAKStars stage.
Hello. Thanks.
Hey, George.
Hey, Jose. Thank you both
Nice to-
very much for having me. It's a
No,
pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to telling our story and hearing from the audience, what they might have to think and say too. So it's hopefully will be a little bit interactive as well. But I leave it to you to lead the questions and take me down the path.
Yeah, and we have something today become more interactive, right, Maria? So we are doing a little giveaway today, a surprise giveaway of
exactly.
Helium box coming up.
Uh-huh. For those who
So
are watching us, just place your questions under the chat. Any question you have about all the things that George are going to be sharing with us today. And for all of those who leave their question, we're going to be doing a raffle at the end of the session to give away the Helium Developer Kit that Jose just showed us.
Great. Thanks.
So perfect, perfect. Actually, it's funny because in one of the past sessions, George was the winner of the first giveaway
I
he
was.
was, yes,
for
yes.
the Hidden Developer IoT Kit. Now that I just remembered that.
Yeah, it was a good sized raffle at that. There were a lot of participants, so I never win anything, but I did win that. It's just great. See?
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
There it is.
what
So there's
So
the kid.
join in with your questions, and
Yeah.
get one.
amazing,
Mhm.
amazing. So, well, for today's conversation, we're going to be discussing in more detail about the mission and vision that One Planet Education Network has for the world, as well as the different collaborations and also the collaboration that we are currently working with other strategic partnership on the IoT ecosystem. But let's first just break the ice and get a little bit better. Can you just share a brief about yourself, like your background, your education, and also like when and how did you get into this STEM world as well as in the IoT ecosystem?
Yes, you're really asking for it, Maria, because it's a long, long time ago that my career began in a galaxy far, far away, right? And it was back in the '70s, in the late '70s. I got a job at an economic research firm out of university, and it was U.S. versus IBM. The United States was suing IBM for antitrust actions, and we were actually on the IBM side. And so I got a really good education early on the industry, because we had to study all aspects of how the industry operated. And it was intriguing to me. I knew all about computers, but I wasn't a computer scientist or anything, but that was my job. And so that sort of opened the door. Of course, the case was closed when Ronald Reagan got elected, because they were fearful at that time that the Japanese mainframe systems would outcompete America, and IBM was needed. So they dropped the case. But little did they know that Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were busy in their garages developing something a little more competitive than the mainframes from Japan. So I ended up in renewable energy after that. I worked for the state of Massachusetts in the regulatory. So I became a regulator in eventually communications technology. I went from renewable energy, which also got knocked out by Ronald Reagan. He took the solar panels off the White House, and that was the end of that for about 30 years. And then I decided to go over to the sleepy division called telecommunications in the state. And suddenly it was another antitrust case, which was the US versus AT&T. And they broke up AT&T. And what happened, I was certifying the first cellular or mobile carriers in the United States in Massachusetts. So I saw the coming of the wireless technology. I left there. I got my MBA in computers and in marketing. And then I went to a market research firm and studied communications, eventually internet. And it ended up at a conference at MIT in 1990, which led me to a professor there who loved my background. He said, "You're perfect. You're going to be on our committee. We're consulting to the US government on the commercialization of the internet." And so we ended up being on that committee for 3 years or 4 years. And I got to see the window into the future, which was going to be the internet, right? Changing everything. And I couldn't believe what was coming if it unfolded in the way we all thought it would. And it kind of did. I knew it would be the Wild West, but I always thought that the best use of the internet would be for education, global education, which was never done before. Totally a new opportunity. And this is the market niche that I eventually got into in starting Open, was right away international education. So, in the 90s, I worked as a consultant just for business. I got into the entertainment industry through a music company, which was doing nightclubs and connecting different nightclubs with video conferencing. And we got to know the RAKStar community in America, and I'm still friends with a lot of them. But we did some groundbreaking things with public radio, with sports and entertainment. But that was not, really kind of, that was good. But I really wanted to get into education more deeply. And I started Open in 98, I think. And I followed the trail of new technology. The video conference, like this today, or the streaming, wasn't really in existence. And the systems were too expensive. So we got into educational gaming with the US Department of Education, NASA, National Science Foundation. And we had years of research on whether games can teach. And of course they can, and we did. We did some wonderful things with national parks. But then, Skype came along and everything, and we decided, let's go back to doing international linkages of kids all over the planet. And it was much easier. It was much less expensive. The barriers were lower. And then, so we ended up doing a lot of things in Africa, in Europe, and in the Middle East, and in New York City schools, eventually Australia. We're still trying to penetrate South America, Maria. We're coming. But we're pretty much global and living up to the name One Planet Education. So our focus there, of course, has been education. What bothered me about my own education was relevance. Like, how does this matter to anything, what I'm studying? And I always thought, we could really do a better job in education of kind of connecting the real world to what we're learning. And how do we bring that to the community and have kids actually contribute to the community? And that's what we're doing now. And we'll get more into it with the slides. But, we really followed the path which led me to IoT several years ago because it's the next internet. And I've always been somewhat of a futurist in trying to see and follow the trail, the breadcrumbs of technology of what would be big and important for the kids to learn. Because it's always been us injecting education with technology. Now we're doing music and other cultural studies through music, going back to my roots. And now my partner again is IBM. We'll get to that later. But then I ran into Travis Teague at Helium and Mark Phillips, who lives nearby me, and I really was dazzled by what they were up to, and thought, well, I got to get some gateways and hotspots anyway. I might as well see if we can earn some HNTs along the way. It's a maybe a win-win situation. If it doesn't fly, I still have the hotspots, which I need, to connect the sensors and teach in the education aspects of that. So that's how I led into you folks, of course, through the Helium trail. So that's my story. But why don't you continue on with the questions? That's my background and how I got to where I am.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a museum piece for technology.
But technology goes in cycles, right? So you're just ahead of the next cycle, really.
Right, exactly. And I haven't been, off in it. And even what I'm doing in education, which really took a long time to take hold, because schools they weren't prepared for it. The teachers weren't trained in this, but I kept dragging them, kicking and screaming into the future. You must come. This is going to be important for the kids. And I got a lot of teachers who were on leading edge. They wanted to bring this new stuff early as they could, without getting fired, or running into problems with parents. But it caught on, and certainly internationally it caught on.
No, that is like completely amazing, and like it connects with everything, like with all the things that you have been achieved so far, and now being able to interconnect like all these schools around the world to connect their students with the real needs that the world are having to solve their things, like their issues, their main issues, by being there and by applying their solutions directly. In some way, they are learning by doing, but also by applying the solutions they are working on where they are really needs. So it's like the main goal from all the things that you have been done, but we're going to share more about it in a bit. And so just like let's get more deep about Open itself, like One Planet Education Network, like the mission and vision of Open, of this social enterprise, and also like you just share like a bit about like your background and other things of why you wanted to start investing in some way in the education for the students. But what was like that particular gap that you find in the beginning in the educational vertical that you were trying to fill in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go for university. I did primary to secondary, or K to 12 in America, we call it, education, because they were trailing. And my belief is you should get the kids early. So we really went down to, kids had to read. They had to understand that there's a bigger world out there. So it's really about what we in the US would call fourth grade, like 9 to 10-year-olds are prepared and ready, and are very, as we've learned, very adept at technology. They adopt it and they just eat it up. And so it became, the issue became, how do we get the teachers up to speed with the kids? So the roles were reversed a little bit. Who's in charge of the classroom was the problem, because suddenly the students were a little bit more clever and ahead of the teacher sometimes. Not all the kids, but some of them. And that was disruptive for the schools. But my niche was all that's all good and well, that we need to teach kids the technology early. and we need to more, in my view, more importantly, apply it to the community needs. And the community needs are the same all over the world, really. I mean, we need better infrastructure. That starts with energy, telecommunications, food security, water, waste, environmental degradation, all the things we're worried about and have been for a while. We need to inject into our programs and apply the technology to help solve part of the problem. And the kids are pretty clever, as you know, and you know, we give them the opportunity. What I found when I started to do this in places like Africa, we focused on food security. We can do the slides soon, where I can walk you through some of the projects we did, or we're still working on, and bringing you folks into the mix. The challenge that I faced running into it was, you know, adoption and fear by teachers. But we have to bring in teacher training. That's a key part of what we do, because as we bring in the kits and other things, the teachers have to understand how to teach it. And that's tricky. But luckily, I have great people who were teachers and are able to translate for them on how this is going to apply to one subject area or another, and also cover the standards they need to for testing in the United States and elsewhere. Because the teachers really have to teach to the test, unfortunately. It's nice to have all the things that I want to do with education for the community's benefit, but does it teach to the standards that I'm going to be judged on as a teacher? So we have a parallel needs or requests, agendas that we have to fulfill while we're doing this. But we're able to do it. I mean, it's a juggling act. But luckily, I have great people who know this better than me, and I just set them free, and they help me. So that's the biggest challenge that I face. I think in the schools. But really, the COVID has changed things, because everybody had to go virtual for the, again, kicking and screaming. I wasn't dragging them this time.
Exactly.
They were getting dragged by the COVID. And
you was expecting for it, but in another way.
Yeah, it's
you
like
was expecting for that virtual education, but for the future, but not because COVID came and it pushed us.
I know. Well, we take our gifts as they come, whether it's bad or good, but a lot of teachers did adapt. I mean, they had to, and the kids were home, which was unusual, and we did some projects with music, which really kind of picked up the spirits of everybody, including their parents at home who were managing these things with all the kids home, still having to do school virtually. And boy, that was a challenge for the teachers and the parents.
The parents, for sure.
Yeah, or the guardians, and it's or the kids alone at home. It was tough, but and we're finally getting back to normal. But the virtual's not going to be like it was, but it's going to be there. And they're used to me dragging them around the planet, having kids meet kids to talk about this stuff.
Actually, there is a thing that comes to my mind over here is that, there were many difficult for people, like students, like parents, teachers, when the COVID came out and they had to push virtually. But in some way, like, there are some underserved community that doesn't either have access to internet or to technological devices, for example. Like, in some way, how open is addressing to reach out to these places where there are not connectivity to be able to create this kind of networks to deploy this kind of solution?
Yeah, working with New York City schools and others, we found that there was I knew this, but no one was really addressing it so much because it was at school, not at home, that the kids didn't have. And these kids are at a disadvantage when other kids have computers at home, just for learning along the way. And suddenly they had to be connected by that. And New York handed out a lot of the hotspots for the phones, which connected to the cellular network quickly. and like Verizon and other cellular carriers around here really did step up. It wasn't perfect. We have some technology, but we didn't get to the right people. But in Africa and other places that are remote, we do have a technology solution, a connectivity solution, which can enhance the connectivity of whether it's 4G, 3G, or even 2G. It's wireless and it's satellite. It's a little bit of everything. I don't have it in my slides, but I can talk about it a little further. Yeah.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
So basically, I think we can jump on the slide, and so you can share a little bit more about like the long-term goals as well as the coming projects that Open have for its community.
Sure.
So let me just share my screen since I have it on my side.
Okay.
Just 1 second. Here we are. So are you able to see them? Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay.
So what we're really trying to do is apply it to the community, as I mentioned. But how do we make our community more resilient, whether it's connectivity, which we try to address, and we have other partners for this I'll mention in a little bit. Because we're not alone in these goals. The challenges are so huge. That's why I partner a lot, because we can't solve this alone. Open and RAK and Helium have a role in this, as do a lot of other tech companies that we want to bring together for a coordinated effort for a solution. And that solution is a more sustainable, resilient community. One that is not a throwaway, not wasting, bringing ecosystems back, doing a sustainable farming, which involves more organic farming and less chemicals and pollutants in the environment, and cleaning up the mess we've made, and having the kids bring some new ideas to the table. And I'll get into, as we go down the slides, who I'm working with where, that helps the kids even get more involved and have more of an impact. So maybe go to slide 2. So we develop, as I mentioned, primary and secondary, but we've really now begun to work with universities everywhere we go as well, depending on the subject area, like agriculture. We apply that solution, and the first main focus, certainly in Africa and other places, is food security. Because a lot of these places, it's not big farms and Oster grocery stores. It's out of the fields and right on my plate. And if you have a bad season, or the climate is messed up, your rain or your drought, cycles, then you have a lot less food to get you through the year. And so we're trying to make it so that the yields are increased, but we don't do it with chemicals, which degrade the soil and ultimately pollute the water. We're going to do it with organic means and new practices, which are really, some of them are old practices, to restore the soil and increase the yield of the crops without polluting. So that's where universities come in. Universities also come in with expertise in ICT. They have machine learning departments in Western Kenya, in the rural farm area. And it was a great surprise to find an IBM shop there that's going to work with us. And we're doing this in every country where we go. And we'll go through the different countries in a minute. And we include, so our approach is pretty holistic or comprehensive, in that when we go into a country, we focus on the schools with the technologies. We come to find that the ministries find out about us: ministries of education, ministries of telecom, ministries of agriculture, environment, and forestry. We're working with all of them. And they love what we're doing for the children, but they also want us to apply it to the community now. So suddenly I'm not just an education company. I've become something that's working with farmers, bringing your solutions in smart farming and others technologies, not only to the kids at the schoolyard or in the hydroponic systems or whatever indoors, but to the farmers themselves and the ministries. And then the universities come into play that are local. So it's a multi-level group, and we bring in non-governmental organizations that are focused on this as well. because we're not going to be doing the work after we do these projects as they expand. We're going to have to build local capacity. And so it's all hands on deck kind of, effort. And so we deliver these training solutions that go with it, with all the technology. We have to have that, like the teachers on how to use. We have to teach the ministers how to use this stuff. We have to teach the people who are going to be the capacity builders, who are, we call it, train the trainers. So we get those high level people who have the skill sets, and then we put them on the training programs on what our smart farm solution might be. And we deliver this through an online platform, which has all the information for training, which has all the data feeds. We'll get into who we have for support for those things. And the other thing we do on top of this, because I'm not busy enough, but this is how we started, and this is what is our advantage in the marketplace too, is the international education programming events, linking kids in Kenya with kids in Malawi, with kids in New York, with kids in Haiti. And we're covering the same stuff. It's the same programs in Haiti as it is in the Congo. So, the solution's the same and the studies are the same. We just are sharing the information across borders and sharing results and problems, and hopefully getting some ideas from the kids as well as the ministers and the others, which we have, of course. As you can see here, in the Congo, we had a private school that was near this active volcano, which gives off CO2 gases. And several years ago, we brought just a basic breadboard and wires, and right from the ground zero scratch. And we had a good programmer friend and colleague who went to the school and taught these kids how to put it all together and program it. And it was just a prototype, but we work with the Volcano Observatory there. And now we have a project where they need to expand this. And so we're taking it from prototype with children right to the Volcano Observatory in the community to maybe fund a larger scale implementation of these CO2 sensors, and bring your technologies, your gateways or your hotspots, to connect those sensors to the network and to the Volcano Observatory to get the data. And meanwhile, the kids are going to get the same data feeds in the schools, whether they're there in the Congo, whether they're in New York City. And then, of course, there's a lot of other technology we need to cover this. And that's why we're working with IBM, with big data, with artificial intelligence, machine learning on the front end to analyze the data feeds, which are going to be substantial. We only have 47 sensors out there now, but we expect hundreds over the coming year or two, maybe thousands. So we're going to need some data crunching. We also work with a world leader in digital mapping, which gives you the visualizations and analysis and location-based information, which is incredible. And we're stitching all this together. It's a systems integration project, so this is where we are in several countries in Africa working with these groups. And then we have the remote connectivity solution through this internet backpack, which I alluded to earlier, which connects to cell or satellite or anything. And then, of course, it's agriculture. The goal is to lessen erosion, conserve water, recharge the aquifers, restart local rain cycles, and of course, curbing the pollutants. And we have a lot of historical data from IBM and the ministries that we're going to feed into the data. We're going to put out weather sensors as well to track and do with your RAK kits. We're going to do small microclimate data from the kits. So we'll get into that when we show the kits. And we're researching CO2 in climate change mitigation strategies using soil carbon capture techniques by doing a different kind of farming than we've done in the past. And the goal, again, is to increase yields and improve local farm communities' economies. So, top to bottom in agriculture. Yeah, so we're guided by the ministries. We listen to the locals. They have the best knowledge, but we also have outside experts to bring into the table. And so we're teaching everybody, though, they're on the same level. Everybody's at the base level to learn IoT, which is good because we can start with 5th grade curriculum and it could work for the ministries and it could work for others. So we're building those curricula right now with RAK. This is the STEM kit, which should be released. We have a first run of 50 to 100 by December, Maria?
Middle of December, yeah.
Yep. And so the students are going to be able to build and program and deploy the sensors in the fields, with some waterproof enclosures, some IP-rated enclosures. And then they're going to be able to link through RAK gateways or hotspots through Helium network to Uberdots, another company, which you'll see in a minute, which will show the data on the dashboards and do some basic data analytics, just to see what comparative analysis between one type of farming with CO2 and another. Over time, we're going to get some really good data points that'll kind of dictate what we should do in the future, maybe, to capture more carbon in the soils, because farming releases a ton of carbon and has in the past. It's a big contributor to global warming. So we have to change our practices, and that's not easy. But luckily, we're working with small farmers who can really adjust, we hope, relatively quickly in a few seasons. And then again, these are the other companies we're working with. You can go to the next. The first area or the place we're bringing the kits, which is a kind of a pretty unique application. I'm very excited about this. These are special education kids with disabilities. So Maria, I didn't realize this, but you better prepare yourself, and Jose too. We have a school for the blind and a school for the deaf. There's 5 schools that are going to be testing this, putting the kits together. So they're going to put it in Braille and doing other things. So it's going to be, we're not going to do this in a 6-month period fully, but we're going to get some results early on that'll guide us in using the kits for these kids who never have done anything in STEM or very little. So we're teaching the teachers how to teach STEM to special education kids. And we're starting in Abuja, Nigeria, with one private school who's leading it, Royal School for Educational Therapy Foundation. They're wonderful. And they have worked with the government to get 4 other schools. They're public schools. And one of them is for the deaf, one for the blind, and the others are just regular schools that have special needs kids. So that's coming up, and that'll be challenging. Talk about making our job a little bit more difficult than normal, but these kids deserve it, and we want them to have it. So here we go.
I think it's the same time to achieve what, let's say, the RAKwireless motto, which is made IoT easy. So in some way, we're interconnected to.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Make it easy and then useful to these kids, because they want to apply it to the community as well. They have farming local outside of Abuja, and they're talking about that first application, same as we're doing elsewhere with these kids building the weather systems. Small weather stations, measuring atmospheric temperature, air temperature, humidity, and barometric pressure, and then pollution monitoring with the environmental sensor, and ultimately the CO2 as well. And the same way we're going to be doing that elsewhere. So the same application, these kids are going to contribute to the community just as much as any kid.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And so again, this is even city schools. This is New York City school. This is it was on the edge of COVID. So early 2020, we got some sensors going. The kids were collecting the data, and then CHOP came, COVID. But this experiment didn't exactly go home, although we were setting it up elsewhere and data was coming in. We were building the network. And as you can see, these are the hydroponic kits we have with that's a seed, full-blown soil moisture and temperature stuck in a hydroponic system. And there's the old Helium gateway, hotspot. So the kids loved it. They're learning to grow locally and eat the food that comes out of these hydroponic kits. And some of the things they're doing in the classroom, we can't do in the fields in Africa, in the schoolyards. It's really indoor experiments in pots or in hydroponic systems that we're going to be able to do things you can't do in a big field. in measuring nitrates and other things that my chemist specialists are having the kids work on. So they're doing real science research while we're at it. So it's meaningful for the kids learning, and the scientists are actually getting good data from. If we get enough of this out there, there's going to be a lot of great data that'll be useful. So that's the indoor stuff. And then here, this is the learning management system, a Moodle. This is how we can distribute, kind of package everything in one platform and then deliver it and have people even collaborate within the platform. And we're just getting this up and running, and we're loaded in the agriculture indoor and outdoor, and we're doing some other courses on cybersecurity and other ICT related stuff, including IoT. And we'll put the instructional videos we're doing together in the curriculum for the kids on the same platform. And then we'll get the data feeds when they start coming in. As you can see, that's Australia out in the Aboriginal community with one of their soil moisture and temperature sensors just from the other day, or not long ago. Yeah. And we chose this because also there's a lot of smartphones and not a lot of computers in Africa. So we chose this platform because it's got a great interface for smartphones. And so these are all our supporters and partners. Like I said earlier, we couldn't do it without a great partnership network. So we have Helium, which led us to RAK, which led us to the development kits, which and we had also communicated with our friends from SEED for their industrial sensors and technologies. Uberdots is our main data visualization, again through RAK in Helium. And then IBM Weather has like 75 years of weather data. They bought the weather company here in the US. A really great resource for that, which all the ministries of agriculture need and want. And then, of course, they're powerful computing systems that we can do data analytics through the machine learning. And then the digital mapping, and then the backpack to connect these communities, we can connect everything through the backpack, basically. So that's a kind of an integral piece of the solution. And then, of course, our friends Helium, people out there are probably familiar with RAK's, gateways, blockchain-based with Helium miners. And there they are. And there's an early ad with Helium in New York City, where we are with New York schools. And yeah, so just to mention, we're I think in 15 countries now, and on the agriculture project we probably got 10 countries going on that. So we're 5 countries in Africa. We're in China, we're in Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, Australia, Haiti, as I mentioned. Malawi, Kenya, Congo, Nigeria, Liberia, and of course USA, and out in Hawaii even. And we hope to bring in Colombia and Argentina and Costa Rica and across South America and into Europe. And we do have an implementation in Europe where there's a RAK miner, which is an ecosystem. It's not a school, but it's a whole cool project that the school kids are going to learn from, because they're starting from scratch to do everything organic, and forest analytics, livestock, farms indoor and in greenhouses, and outdoor as well. And so we'll be getting data and showing you later some of that, not today, but I mean in the future if you come and visit us. So here's our friends, hosts today. You know them well. Why don't I leave this to Maria if you want to give a plug for yourself here, and Jose. This is the IoT Made Easy message is hopefully displayed today through us.
Well, basically, I think like more than highlighted all the things that RAKwireless have for its community. It's the way that we are here to interconnect companies such as Open to interconnect their solutions with the people that are needed in some way. Here we get all connected through through our main partner over here, which was Helium. Then we just like interconnect with George and Open. We identify the needs that they were having about these do-it-yourself kits to start teaching, to start like changing the way they were doing their STEM programming projects. Because as you could identify in the previous picture here in this one, let me just go up a little bit. As George just shared, they were starting with like some basic breadboards and adjunct like many cables, different sensors and things like that. But if then they wanted to put this on the field to be able to prove it, to test it, maybe they had to make something customized. And based on this, we identified, okay, the Whizlog is the perfect tool that you need to be able to help these students to move to the next step, to be able to deploy, to build these things easy, interconnect them, and also deploy them in an easy and fast way. And basically, that is why we connect over here. Our main, let's say, resources that we are providing to the open project is, of course, the hardware, which is the Whizlog, as of the people that are connected may know, is a modular development platform that allows you to build many kind of IoT solution for any industry, since it is a modular development board that has more than 50 models right now, and it's going to keep growing over the next months. And it is not just that, it is also the thing that is an open source project that helps you to build as well your own model in case that it doesn't exist. So that is the idea. We are here to help these students to build their solutions, to prove their ideas, and to deploy and to help us to create a better world in some way. And then we have like the Ubidots platform, and then here you can also jump on this one.
Yeah. So that the other partner that Maria and Jose brought to me and Helium was Ubidots, as you know, an incredible solution, and a great company that you know, this makes it easy for us to get the data out where it needs to be in the classrooms and at the ministries and at the universities, who need to deep dive maybe a little more than the students do in primary and secondary. And this has a lot of potential for, you know, the deeper you want to go, there's another layer. So, you know, they're great to work with. We all know each other, and it's a great group core partnership. I'd say the core partnership, even though we have IBM and others who are real excited about working with us, and they're bigger companies, but they're small departments and divisions. So it feel like you're working with a small company, but it's IBM or it's Esri. And yet we and you know, RAK is not a small company, and neither is Seed or Ubidots, but the core group is all of us, you know, from Helium and Open and I'm glad you mentioned that the kids can build whatever, if the teachers allow it, other than our applications that we're going to be, you know, kind of directing them to for the community, that they can, you know, just come up with wild ideas and come up with something that might be really useful that none of us thought of. Exactly. And this kit gives them that ability. And as you said, it's pre-packaged. That, you know, it was like a dream, you know, coming at, well, you have this all together, that we can put this out there and they can actually program and we can connect it to the network. Some of the big projects we're striving to do in Kenya and Liberia and in the Congo to start, it would be thousands of kits in the hands of the kids, because we're talking a lot of schools, like hundreds of schools potentially in each country. And you know, we want to get X number of kits per school, and as you can build 2 sensors out of that kit. You know, so that gives a lot of flexibility and opportunity. Some kids could be building the CO2 for the agriculture. Others could be building the weather. Others could be, if they're in the city, building the pollution monitoring and monitoring things like in Australia when they have the droughts and the bad fires. What's the air quality index? You know, should we go outside? And the kids' sensors are going to be deployed just like the other industrial sensors we're going to deploy. So we can see a lot of these going out into the greater world to deliver good data. So that's my slides. And I don't know if that's the end of, did I run out of time here?
No, we're
No,
okay.
not at all.
We're fine. Actually, we have a couple of questions as well, but we can jump on them in a bit.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to share like other like a close view to the kit. So I got some pictures over here.
Sure.
We can show like the box itself, like in the main, like the main part and the bottom side. So we can explain a little bit more about like all the interconnection that we are making with the strategic partners that George just shared. So just if someone wants to reach out to George for any doubt or any concern about open, feel free to do it over their email that you can find it on the presentation over here. So I'm going to present the other screen that I have over here. Just 1 minute, please. Okay, I lost it. Here it is. So here we have it. Share, present to view. Here we have it. So
We're all waiting.
sorry. Okay, here we have it. Okay, this is the kit. George just shared us like a view as well.
Mhm.
And here you can see that we wanted to address like the use of it on the different possible use cases. We can find like a school with renewable energy. Then we have the agriculture side on the city, but then we have the agriculture side as well as on the fields next to a volcano or smart cities as well. And then this is like the bottom side of the kits that I really love, which showcase the interconnection between the different partners that we decide to go with for this amazing project. So basically, as you can see here, there are like a couple of WISBlock sensors. As I just mentioned, like the WISBlock ecosystem have more than 15 models, 50 models, sorry. But that doesn't mean that you are going to find all of them over here. There are some limited, but you can just get them later if you need to interconnect other kind of solutions, or also you can build yours as I just mentioned. So here we have the WISBlock model, so you can build your GPS trackers, your environmental monitorings, your CO2 sensors, and then they are going to be interconnected to the Helium network over the People's Network, which is a network that has been like growing like a crazy during the past year, and that is a dream for many people that were involved in the IoT ecosystem. Like we really wanted to have an open source, an open network that allows us to interconnect devices that can reach a long range connectivity, data transmission, and as well that these devices can be low power. And now we have it right there. So we need to encourage the people to start using it in the positive way of creating IoT solution that can address the different problems of the different vertical. So basically then after the data is interconnected through the hotspot, we are going to receive that data into the Helium console, and then in the Helium console, it's going to be interconnected with Ubidots as a platform service where the students and the people can handle all their needs on the visualization side, and as well as the analytics. So basically, this is just another view that I wanted to share with you today. And as George shared, these kits are going to be ready for like the first batch of these kits is going to be ready to be shipped on December, middle of December. And of course we are looking forward to keep expanding the number of batch in the near future as well.
Yeah, I just want to mention that we have an order, of 50 out there that's coming in December, and another batch of 50, and the pre-orders are coming in from that project that I mentioned with the Nigeria students. But we also have New York City schools that are getting a bunch. We also have Australia, our schools there that are ordering another 25 or more. And we hope to bring them to Colombia in the early part of 2022 as well. And then South Carolina and Trinidad. There's all sorts of pockets around the world where we can distribute. And there's already a very strong interest in these kits. I think hopefully production will be full swing in 2022 between us, and firing it out to schools all over the place, including the bigger projects that we're contemplating in Africa. Yeah.
No, I think like all of this, it is pretty amazing. And I'm like really looking forward to see like the final version ready on our hands, and like all the content that we're also like creating in hand to it. And also like finally see like all these pictures that you just shared with us over your presentation,
Yeah.
but with the kids and the devices on their hands, like the Whistle kids, and also deploy it on the field. Like really,
we're going to be filming the kids and see how they do. First, the teachers in the special education project, but in New York will be the kids and teachers on hand, as well as Australia. But we'll also get the kids in January putting these together. So we'll get some films. We'll put them on our websites and elsewhere in social media, just to see the challenges and the kids' breakthroughs and successes. And then when that first sensor is planted somewhere outdoors, maybe we'll all meet wherever that is. Maybe it's Colombia, I don't know, wherever. But I think it's funny. When you're talking about following the trail of the bread, I was talking about the trail of the breadcrumb of the technologies. Robotics and STEM has always been something, right? But when I was thinking about the application of the meaning of your studies and applying things to the community development or improvement, sustainable community, robots are harder to get out there and do stuff with robots, but IoT is a natural. That's why I gravitated to IoT for STEM, is because you can do so much with it. You mentioned energy. There's, all those applications, water, irrigation, so much we can monitor and measure. And always in the back of my mind is, and we're going to talk to the kids about this, is don't leave those out in the wilderness. We must not leave electronic waste behind out there, and have them be, lone wolves out there once they, the batteries run out, and where are they? We want to be sure that we're good. We follow our own good rules in monitoring, the electronic footprint that we're going to have out there. And if we're talking thousands of sensors, I know we're going to lose a few, but I mean, we should really keep in mind what we should do as an industry is to keep our eye on that, and be a good corporate citizens on making sure they come home and are reused, or as we can recycle whatever we can recycle. That's like my little, my speech for the environment today.
No,
But anyway,
of course, it's important that
it is very important.
Yeah. Consider that.
exactly. So I think like we have a couple of questions over here on the chat that we can jump on them. We have this space for Q&A session. Also, before starting to them, I would like to highlight that at the beginning we highlighted we're going to be doing a giveaway at the end of the session. So today, or right now, it's the time. So to join the giveaway, you just need to leave your question to George on the comment section, and then we're going to make a raffle among the people who participate and select one winner. So let's go with the first questions. I have one from Oscar Flores. I teach in elementary schools in my state with STM, Scratch, and robotics tools. What is the best way to teach current modern technology to elementary schools children in developing countries?
That is a great question. We are really challenged, I have to admit, in some of the connectivity issues that we're having in Africa. You know, this is where the developing countries we're most focused on have been in Africa, and the spotty connectivity for training the teachers even. So the best way to teach is to get to the teachers. That's why we bring I'm excited about the connectivity solution we bring, you know, which needs to be funded like everything, right? So the best ways to teach modern technology to the kids is through the teachers, and then having I think with the kits. I mean, you teach robotics from scratch. I don't know what you apply them to. I'm sure there are some good, you know, applications and challenges, but I think in elementary school, children is to have the hands-on. Anything hands-on, you learn better that way. Particularly technology. You know, you got to get your, you know, into the program on the computer, no matter what it is, whether it's Scratch or, you know, and robotics is hands-on. So you probably know that lights up children's minds and gets them excited. So, you know, I think these kits solve that same problem in getting the kids engaged. And then again, the challenge is getting the teachers up to speed on how to teach it. And we're always there behind them. I mean, that's one of the things that Open offers as part of our service side is not only professional development, but we're there the whole year. If you need anything, we come in by Zoom and we can help you. You know, it's just carving out the schedules and the times that's always the difficult part. But I hope that answers the question.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, George. We have another one from Mechatronica Made. George, congrats for this project. This is an amazing solution. I love this fusion. What do you think are the skills that educator needs to carry out a correct transfer of knowledge with these tools?
Could you repeat the question just a second?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I'm seeing.
Okay.
Okay, I'm seeing the question now. What do you think the skills that educators correct the skills that the educators need? Well, they need to be able to build the kits themselves. You know, I mean, I think we start with that. That's what we're going to do with the Nigerian project. You know, and in other words, it's got to be hands-on with the teachers too. It's good to teach the ideas and the theories and other things behind the technology, but if you're going to bring it and have the kids put it together, in order to be an effective guide on the side is the term is in the classroom. The guide on the side, not the, you know, the talking head up front, is go around in small work groups where the kids are working on this and support them. And then having other kids, you know, breaking up into work groups, but having the other kids support each other. There's always going to be one student or two students that are a little bit quicker with this or more adept with their fingers in putting the circuit boards together. So, you know, I think if I was able to put this together with my fat fingers, and that, you know, and even the screwdriver and the screws, which are tiny. So I think the kids are going to be a natural with this, and the teachers too. So I think, yeah, the skills are that, you know, you need to get hands-on as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now we have someone that is like super involved with Helium community as well as RAK community, and now it is their turn to be part of the Open project as well. So he's asking, George, does Open accept volunteers? If so, how does one reach out to engage? I think we lost George.
He froze. Oh God.
Yeah, he got frozen. So
Frozen in a nice position though.
So Mike, let me just remove him, and then he can join as soon as he's back. Okay, let me put it over here. So Mike, I will say yes. And how does reach out to engage? I will say that you need to contact directly to George. You can find his contact on the video description directly and his LinkedIn profile. However, I can also send directly his email so you can connect to him and evaluate the different possibilities of how you can engage with them for sure. So yeah. Okay, let's see. if one of the other questions that we have over here can be addressed by us.
Um,
Well, this is not related to the
how many
project.
years could it take for this kind of projects? Yeah. I think it can be. It can have real benefits quite quickly. Like the Helium project itself. So you've in 6 months you've seen people who didn't know anything about networking or Wi-Fi setups or anything, and they are now creating a kind of carrier grade network just through all the YouTube videos and the community. And I think we can do the same here with the sensors as well. And within like 1 year or so, have the kids create sensors, put them in the field, and see immediate benefits, soil moisture sensing. And because then they can share all this knowledge between themselves, and I'm sure there will be some collaboration tools like George mentioned, then whatever one group learns, they can share it to the others and move very fast. Basically.
Completely. Actually, we have one over here that we haven't like think about that yet, but maybe it can be a possibility. But this kit looks great. Will this available for other schools to purchase, or it is easy to set up custom kit from rack? Well, basically, this kit is going to be like provided directly by open services. So basically, they're connect like we are their hardware providers, and they are the ones to interconnect with different schools to provide these kits. Not sure if they are how they are going to handle like single purchases at the moment, but the idea is to get agreements with different schools or governments around the world. That is how are managing right now.
But the kit is similar to the Helium kit, right? Or
Exactly.
what is the difference? So you could buy the Helium developer kit as well as an option.
Exactly. Then these kids will be okay. That's completely fine. These kids will be a great Xmas gift for sure. And have you found that children find one more? Sorry. Have you found that children find one kit of sensor more exciting than another? For example, GPS temperature accelerometer. Well, like based on my own experience working like with kids and electronics, I will say they get more exciting like with accelerometers and LEDs in some way. Like
Yeah.
in some way, you need to showcase like that eureka moment. Let's say I had a like an STEM workshop like 2 years back, 3 years back. We were using some electronics boards like for STEM purposes, and basically we made a hat, a helmet for bicycles to define to which direction they are going to cross, to the right or to the left. So if they move their heads to the right, you will see the LED turn it on the right side with the arrow and things like that. So they're getting excited when their sensors like in some way allows them to get like make some movement and then having an eureka moment, such as I don't know, turning on a LED or maybe turning on a buzzer that plays a sound, something like that.
Yeah, I've also worked with a school here in Newcastle for elementary school, and we did a tracker project, and the kids really enjoyed it. Like creating a device that they could see on a map was also very, very engaging, because then they could see it moving. They took it home. They saw it moving, the dot moving. So and it's something they created that was very powerful.
Yeah, for sure. I think we don't have like any more questions. I am placing down all the names over here from the
Okay.
people who are participating. Since we haven't
Let's
heard
see who's
from
going
George.
to win.
Let's see. Yeah, like George, the city where George is from get a big storm yesterday, so they're having like some electricity issues. So maybe that is why we lost him. Not pretty sure. But if he can make it for say goodbye to you, and yeah, to close the session, we are going to be.
Yeah, it's the problem of live sessions. Yeah, so this is live. Yeah, it's all happening now. So sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
So yeah, I already placed like down all the names. Thanks to everyone who participated, well, who leave their questions, and now they are participating on a giveaway for the Helium Developer Kit. So I'm going to share my screen once again over here. I promise that I'm not going to spend too much time right now. And share screen. Here we have random picker name. Okay, here we are. So here we have the name of all of those who participate today. And I'm going to select just one name and just go to pick random name. And the winner is Philtron. Phil,
Oh,
I think Phil have already won one in the previous session, I think.
yeah. Jesus, you're lucky man.
He's the lucky guy. Well, Phil, you are the lucky winner for today's sessions. I'm going to be reaching out to you over our Discord to arrange the achievement of it, so you can keep encourage and push forward more development, more sensors to be deployed on the Helium network for sure. So lucky one. Yeah. Perfect. I think like yeah, that's all for today. If everyone have like any additional questions about George, feel free to reach out to us and we can put you directly in contact with him. For more information about One Planet, feel free to reach out their website. They have specified all the services that they offer, as well as the different programs. It's pretty interesting. They have like either the STEM program and some music programs, and all the things how they interconnect, like the culture with among like the different countries is an amazing thing. I highly recommend you to check out their website. So yeah, I think that's all for today. Not sure, Jose, if you want to add something else before
No,
we close
yeah,
off.
thank you all for joining. And yeah, next week, are we doing a show next week, Maria?
Yeah,
Or,
we're well. We
I don't
have a
know.
next week. Yeah, now I remember. Let's see if
Okay,
we can make
so we have
something.
a surprise next week. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
Okay, thanks all for joining us today. If someone is watching the video later, feel free to leave your question in the comment section, and we will be super happy to address them. I hope to see you next time. As always, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are. And my best wishes to you all. As always, happy hacking. Bye bye,
Happy
folks.
hacking. Bye bye.